The hum of the space station was unlike anything he had ever heard. It was soft, almost musical, but underneath it, there was a strange vibration that seemed to move through the floor, through the walls, and even into his chest. Every step he took echoed slightly, though there were others around. Alien voices whispered in a language he didn't understand, some high-pitched, some deep and guttural, weaving together in an odd harmony. He wandered through the wide corridors, his eyes drawn to the walls lined with strange, glowing panels. The colors shifted slowly, like liquid light, painting the hallways in greens, blues, and purples. Some shapes floated in the air, twisting and turning, but when he blinked, they were gone. The air smelled faintly metallic, but also sweet, like some kind of alien flower he could not name. He glanced around, looking for a place to sit. There were chairs and benches, but none seemed ordinary. Some were transparent, some floated a few inches above the floor, and one looked more like a platform of soft light than anything solid. He hesitated. Every time he approached a seat, he felt as if invisible eyes were watching him. Then he saw her. She was standing in the middle of the hall, and for a moment, he thought she was not real. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver, moving slightly as if alive. Her eyes were large and golden, reflecting the lights around her, and her skin had a faint glow, like the surface of a pearl. She was tall, graceful, and moved with a calm authority that made the whole hall seem to pause. He froze. He had never seen anyone like her, and he could not look away. She looked directly at him, and in that instant, he felt a strange pull in his chest, a mix of fear, curiosity, and awe. Before he could even think of approaching her or turning away, she stepped forward. Her hand reached out, soft but firm, and grabbed his wrist. The touch was electric, almost burning, but not painful. "Sit beside me," she said, her voice calm, commanding, and impossibly clear. He swallowed hard. I don't. I mean. You will sit," she interrupted, her golden eyes holding his like magnets. He found himself being guided gently but firmly toward a bench that hovered slightly above the floor. He tried to resist, but the strange pull in her presence was stronger than any instinct he had. His legs moved almost on their own, carrying him beside her. The hall seemed to grow quieter. The alien whispers faded into silence. Only the soft hum of the station remained. He sat down, feeling the bench respond to his weight, molding slightly, almost as if it were alive. For a moment, he just stared at her, unsure what to say or do. She did not look at him the way a human would. Her gaze was steady, assessing, almost like she could see through him, into his thoughts, his fears, his memories. "What, are you?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She tilted her head slightly, a hint of amusement on her lips. "I am who I must be," she said softly. "And you are where you are meant to be." He shivered, unsure whether the words were a promise or a warning. Around them, people, or creatures, continued their movements, but now he noticed something he hadn't before. Every eye seemed to be on them. Aliens of every shape and size had turned, watching him sit beside the princess. Some stared openly, some whispered to each other, but all eyes were fixed. He felt a sudden, sharp awareness of being out of place, of being the center of attention in a world he did not understand. Panic and excitement swirled in his chest. He wanted to speak, to move, to escape, but something kept him rooted beside her. He could not explain why. She leaned slightly closer, her presence overwhelming yet strangely comforting. "Do not be afraid," she said, her voice barely audible over the hum of the station. "Fear is natural. Curiosity is stronger." He nodded, though he did not fully understand. His eyes wandered around the hall again. Strange devices hummed and blinked, alien creatures conversed in sounds that seemed almost musical, and the very air seemed alive with motion. But still, he could not take his eyes off her. A shadow passed over them. He looked up and saw several guards, or something like them, glancing in their direction. They did not move toward them yet, but the tension was palpable. His heart beat faster. Why was he here? Why had she chosen him? And what did everyone else see in him that made their attention so focused? The princess finally leaned back slightly, her gaze still on him, and for a brief moment, he felt like he could breathe again. Then he realized every being in the hall was still staring. Some were whispering urgently to each other, pointing subtly in their direction. He swallowed hard, a knot of fear and wonder tightening in his stomach. Whatever had begun the moment she grabbed his wrist was only the beginning. And he had no idea what he had stepped into. The hum of the station grew louder, almost as if it was warning him. He looked at the princess again. She smiled faintly, not kindly, not cruelly, but with a sense of knowing. A knowing that terrified him more than anything else in the room. The air around them felt heavier now. The hum of the station pulsed through his bones like a heartbeat he could feel but not see. The alien princess remained calm, sitting beside him as if the intense gaze of every creature in the hall meant nothing. He, however, felt like he was on display, exposed, every nerve ending alive with nervous energy. Then, without warning, she leaned closer, so close that he could smell a faint, sweet fragrance, something like a mix of jasmine and metal. Her eyes, golden and unreadable, studied him intently. "There is something you must know," she whispered, almost so softly that he had to strain to hear. "Something that humans were never meant to see." He swallowed, heart hammering. I don't understand." "You will," she said. Her fingers brushed his wrist again, lighter this time, a signal that he was to listen, not speak. "This place, this station, it is not what it seems. There are things here that would terrify a human mind. Things you cannot unsee once you know." He felt a chill run down his spine. "Terrify, how?" Her lips curved into a faint, almost sad smile. "Not everything is a danger to your body. Some things can destroy your very thoughts." A sound interrupted them, a faint click from across the hall. They both glanced up, and he noticed a figure slipping between the glowing panels, moving silently, unseen by most of the station's inhabitants. It was humanoid, but the way it moved, it was unnatural, fluid, and deliberate, like a predator stalking prey. "You see them, don't you?" the princess whispered. He nodded slowly. "Who, what are they?" "They are watchers," she said, her voice barely above the hum of the station. "Guardians of secrets. They will follow those who ask questions they shouldn't. And now, they follow you." Panic and disbelief surged through him. "Me? Why me?" Her golden eyes held his, unblinking, unyielding. "Because you were chosen. Not by me, not by anyone here. By something, older. Something that moves through the stars and watches all life. You are the first human it has brought to this station." The weight of her words pressed on him. He wanted to laugh, to think it was a joke, but the intensity in her gaze, the subtle tension in her posture, and the very atmosphere of the station told him it was real. He tried to find his voice. "I don't understand. Why me? I'm just someone who came here to explore." She tilted her head, the silver strands of her hair catching the flickering light. "Explorers often stumble upon truths they were never meant to see. You are one of them. And now, your curiosity has consequences." A low rumble vibrated through the floor beneath them. The lights along the walls flickered, dimming briefly, and the air felt charged, almost alive. Something was moving closer, and he felt it in the marrow of his bones. "They're coming," the princess said calmly, almost too calmly. "The watchers always come when a human begins to learn too much. But do not fear, not yet. For now, you have a choice." He stared at her, heart racing. "A choice?" "To leave," she said, her voice firm but soft. "Walk away now. Forget everything you have seen. Forget me. Go back to the safety of your world and pretend none of this ever happened." "And the other choice?" His voice was trembling, though he tried to hide it. Her golden eyes seemed to pierce into his soul. To stay, to learn, to understand. To take a step into a universe far larger than your imagination. But if you choose this, you cannot turn back. You will see things that will haunt you. And you will be watched. He swallowed hard, torn. The idea of leaving was tempting. Safety. Normalcy. But something about her, something about this station, pulled at him. His curiosity had always been dangerous. He had chased mysteries, explored abandoned places, dared things others feared. Could he really walk away now? The rumble grew louder. Shadows moved faster around the hall, figures shifting silently, observing them. He realized the watchers were not just behind the walls, they were inside the minds of those around him. He could feel it, subtle and suffocating, like a weight pressing on his thoughts. The princess stood slowly, her presence commanding the space around her. "Time is short," she said. "You must decide." Before he could answer, a sudden alarm blared. Red lights flashed, and the walls seemed to pulse. Creatures and aliens all around them froze, some looking toward the source, others looking at him. "You cannot stay here," she said urgently, grabbing his wrist again, her touch firmer this time. "Come. Follow me. Now." He hesitated, fear clawing at his chest, but the golden intensity of her gaze left no room for refusal. Something deep inside him told him that if he stayed, he would never be safe in the same way again. As he rose to his feet, he took a final glance around the hall. Eyes, hundreds of them, were still watching. Some curious, some hostile, some calculating. And then he looked at her, the alien princess, and realized he had no idea what he had just agreed to. The corridors of the space station twisted and turned in ways that made his head spin. Every corner seemed to shift when he blinked, walls stretching farther than they should, lights flickering like nervous eyes. He followed the alien princess closely, her hand firmly gripping his wrist. Each step echoed, but somehow, the sound didn't reflect normally, it bent, as if the station itself was alive and listening to them. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "To a place few humans have seen," she replied, her golden eyes scanning the halls. "A chamber of knowledge, and danger. You must be ready." He nodded, though fear and excitement churned inside him. He had never felt anything like this before. The air seemed charged with electricity, making his hair stand on end. Every sound, every hum, every whisper of air, made him feel exposed. They turned a corner, and a faint shimmer appeared in the wall ahead. It was like a curtain of liquid light, rippling without sound. The princess reached out, and the shimmer parted, revealing a narrow passageway behind it. "Through here," she said, her voice calm, though her eyes held an intensity he couldn't ignore. "Few are allowed inside. And even fewer leave unscathed." As they stepped through the shimmering wall, the temperature dropped. The passage opened into a massive chamber, unlike anything he had ever imagined. The floor glowed with soft, pulsing light. Strange symbols moved along the walls, rotating and shifting like living runes. Suspended in midair were countless devices, some glowing softly, some spinning with a rhythm that made his stomach ache. It felt as if the very room was alive, breathing around them. "What is this place?" he asked, awestruck. "The hidden chamber," she replied. "It holds the knowledge and power of my people. Some of it is harmless, some of it is dangerous. And some is forbidden." He stepped carefully, eyes wide, taking in the floating machinery. One device hummed like a heartbeat and projected images of distant stars, planets, and strange, alien ships moving through space faster than anything he knew. Another device displayed maps of worlds, marked with symbols he could not understand. She led him to a platform in the center of the chamber. "Sit," she commanded, and he obeyed, though his mind raced. "You are about to see things that may change you," she said. "Are you ready?" He swallowed hard. I think so." The platform beneath them began to rise slowly, and the lights dimmed. The symbols on the walls shifted, forming patterns that seemed to move with purpose, like they were telling a story he could almost understand but not quite. A soft hum grew louder, vibrating through his body, as if the room itself was awakening. Suddenly, images appeared before them, not on screens, but floating in the air. Scenes of battles among the stars, alien civilizations rising and falling, and creatures more terrifying than he could imagine. Some were beautiful beyond words, with colors and shapes that defied logic. Others were monstrous, their forms twisting and impossible to describe. He felt a chill. This is incredible, he whispered. Yes, she said. But incredible can also be dangerous. Some knowledge here can change your mind, your very thoughts. That is why humans rarely enter. Few can handle it. He tried to look away, but his eyes were drawn back again and again. Then he noticed something moving in the shadows at the edge of the chamber, figures that had been following them, the watchers from before. They lingered at the doorway, their forms shifting, almost invisible, but he could feel their attention pressing down like a weight. They are here, he whispered. Yes, she said calmly. And they will not leave until they know what you have learned. That is why we must move quickly. There is one device here, it can give you answers, or trap your mind forever. She led him to a pedestal in the center of the room. On it lay a small orb, glowing with a strange inner light. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, and he could feel it drawing him closer, pulling at his thoughts. Do not touch it until I say, she warned. Its power is immense. And it can sense fear. He nodded, though his hands itched to reach out. The room seemed to close in around him, the walls bending, the floating machines humming louder, as if anticipating what would happen next. Then a loud, metallic clanging echoed through the chamber. Shadows surged along the walls. The watchers were moving closer. Panic threatened to rise in his chest, but she squeezed his wrist. Focus, she whispered. You must see this. But you must also control your mind. He took a deep breath and tried to steady himself. The orb's glow seemed to respond to his thoughts, brightening when he imagined fear, dimming when he imagined calm. It was like nothing he had ever experienced. Suddenly, the chamber trembled, the walls vibrating. Symbols spun faster. A sharp, piercing sound filled the room, and he realized the watchers were not just outside, they were reaching inside his mind, probing his thoughts. He gasped, trying to pull away, but she held him firm. You can control this, she said. Do not let them see weakness. Do not let them know fear. Every instinct told him to run, to escape, but he stayed. The orb pulsed brighter, almost blinding, and he felt a surge of knowledge flow into him, images, sounds, emotions, memories that were not his own. He saw stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, wars across galaxies. He felt the weight of a universe he had never imagined. And then, silence. The room stilled. The floating devices stopped moving. The watchers faded into the shadows, and the orb's glow softened, almost calming. He collapsed to his knees, breathless, mind racing. What just happened? The princess looked at him, her golden eyes unreadable. You have seen a glimpse of the universe, she said softly. But this is only the beginning. What you have learned here, will change everything. And now, they know you are ready. He looked up, fear and awe battling inside him. Ready for what? She did not answer immediately. Instead, she stepped closer, her presence a shield against the shadows at the edge of the chamber. To survive, she said finally. To fight. And to decide the fate of more than just your world. A low rumble echoed through the station once more. The watchers were moving, closing in, and the glowing walls of the chamber seemed to tighten around them. He realized, with a sinking feeling, that whatever had started the moment she grabbed his wrist was no longer just an adventure. It was a war, and he had just become a player. The chamber's glow dimmed, the shadows shifted, and the alien princess extended her hand once more. "Come," she said. "We have no time to waste." And with that, they disappeared into the twisting corridors, leaving the hidden chamber behind, but its secrets, and its dangers, would follow him forever. The corridors of the space station seemed alive now, shifting subtly as if sensing their every move. The alien princess's grip on his wrist was firm, steadying him as shadows slithered along the walls. The Watchers had not abandoned them. Their presence pressed against his mind like invisible claws, probing, searching for weakness. "Stay close," the princess whispered, her voice calm but urgent. "They can sense fear. They can sense hesitation. If you falter, you will be trapped." He nodded, though fear churned in his stomach. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to throw off her grip and flee, but something deep inside him, the curiosity, the drive that had brought him here in the first place, held him in place. And the danger that had almost claimed him moments ago. The princess let go of his wrist and stood a few feet away, her hair shimmering in the starlight. "You survived the first test," she said. "But there are more trials ahead. And you are not ready for all of them, not yet." He swallowed hard, heart pounding. "Trials? What do you mean?" She looked at him, her golden eyes steady. "I cannot tell you everything. Not yet. But know this, the fate of more than just your world depends on what happens next. And the Watchers, they will never stop coming." He felt the weight of her words settle over him. Fear, excitement, and an impossible sense of destiny pressed down on him. He realized that nothing would ever be the same. He was no longer just a visitor in this alien station. He was a participant in something vast, dangerous, and beyond comprehension. The stars stretched endlessly around them, cold and indifferent. The station, now a dark silhouette behind them, seemed to watch silently, as if marking their escape. Yet, the relief of leaving the corridors and the chasing Watchers did little to calm his racing heart. The alien princess stood nearby, her golden eyes scanning the void, but her expression had shifted. It was no longer just calm authority, it carried weight, expectation, and a hint of urgency he could not ignore. "Sit," she commanded softly, pointing to a platform of floating light that appeared beneath them. He obeyed, though his hands trembled. The events of the station, the hidden chamber, the Watchers, the Nexus, played over and over in his mind like a storm he could not escape. "You have seen much," she said. "And yet, you have not seen everything. Nor do you understand the full weight of what you have been part of." He swallowed hard. I don't understand. Why me? Why now? I'm just human. Just me. I'm not special." Her gaze softened, but it did not lose its intensity. "You are exactly what they did not expect. That is why you survived the station. That is why you were brought here. Humans are unpredictable. Clever. Bold. You are capable of choices they cannot anticipate." He shivered. "Choices? What choices?" She turned, her golden eyes reflecting the distant stars. "The Watchers are not the only danger. There is a force far greater, older than the station, older than my people. It moves through the galaxy silently, shaping events, observing, and sometimes, punishing. And now, it has marked you." Fear gripped his chest like a vice. "Marked me? Me? Why?" "Because you have the potential to tip the balance," she said quietly. "To act where others hesitate. But potential alone is not enough. You must choose." He stared at her, mind spinning. "Choose, what?" She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming yet strangely comforting. "To return to your world," she said, "to forget everything you've seen, to live in safety. You could leave this galaxy behind, and no harm would come to you, not immediately." "And the other choice?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, her eyes glinted like gold under distant starlight. "To stay," she said. To learn, to fight, to face dangers your mind can barely imagine. To risk your life, and perhaps your soul, for the sake of countless worlds. His heart pounded. Every instinct screamed for safety, for the familiar comforts of Earth. But curiosity, that dangerous spark that had always driven him, flared within him. The knowledge he had glimpsed in the hidden chamber, the alien technology, the power of the Nexus, all of it called to him, tempting him forward. I don't know if I can, he admitted. I don't know if I'm strong enough. She smiled faintly, not mocking, but full of understanding. Strength is not always what is required. Sometimes, it is courage. Sometimes, it is the willingness to stand, even when fear grips you. Even when the universe itself seems to oppose you. The platform beneath them hummed softly. Stars swirled, distant galaxies spinning in ways that made his mind ache. He could feel the weight of the station, the watchers, and the unknown force pressing against him. Time seemed to stretch. Every heartbeat felt like an eternity. He closed his eyes, and visions from the hidden chamber flashed before him, the floating maps, the wars among distant worlds, the knowledge that humans were rare in this galaxy, but capable of greatness. He saw himself in those visions, standing alone, facing impossibilities, and somehow, surviving. Somehow, making a difference. Then he opened his eyes. The princess was still waiting, calm, patient, yet expectant. She did not speak. She did not press him. She simply watched, and he knew the choice was entirely his. Fear clawed at him, doubt whispered in his mind. What if I fail? What if I cannot handle it? But beneath the fear, curiosity burned brighter, and a strange clarity emerged. I have already come this far. I have already survived more than I imagined. I cannot turn back now. He took a deep breath, feeling the stars stretching endlessly around him. I will stay, he said finally. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. I'll do it. I'll try to learn, to survive, to fight. A faint smile touched her lips, almost imperceptible. Good, she said. Then there is no turning back. Once you take this path, your life, our lives, and countless others are linked. You must understand this, the Watchers, the forces beyond them, even the station itself, they will test you. Push you. And perhaps, try to destroy you. He swallowed, trying to steady himself. I understand. I think. But, what happens now? She extended her hand toward him. Now, she said, you prepare. The first test of your choice is not behind us, it is ahead. You will face dangers you cannot yet imagine. And through it all, you must trust yourself. And me. He hesitated, then took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, a strange warmth surged through him, almost like a bond, connecting their minds in subtle ways. He felt her focus, her awareness of the galaxy, and a hint of her strength. And in that moment, he realized, he was not just a visitor anymore. He was a participant in something vast, dangerous, and beyond comprehension. A low rumble shook the platform beneath them. The stars seemed to twist, the universe bending subtly, warning him, testing him. The Watchers were moving again, no longer invisible, no longer hesitant. The forces he had chosen to face were already aware of his decision. He looked at the princess. I'm ready, he said, though every part of him quivered with fear. She nodded, eyes shining. Good. Then the universe will know a human is here. And it will not forget you. The stars around them stretched endlessly, glittering like shards of crystal in the infinite dark. The alien princess and the human stood on the edge of a floating platform, suspended above a void that seemed to twist and shift with each passing moment. The remnants of the station loomed behind them, a fractured, glowing skeleton of corridors, chambers, and secrets that had almost claimed their lives. You are ready, the princess said, her golden eyes sharp and unyielding. But the real test begins now. Not the station, not the watchers, but the force that moves behind it all. It senses your choice. And it will come for you. He swallowed hard. Every instinct in his body screamed to run, to hide, to turn away, but he could not. He had chosen this path, and the stakes were too high to retreat. "I'm ready," he said, though his hands shook. "Whatever it is. I'll face it." A low hum began beneath them, faint at first, then rising, vibrating through the platform, through their bones, through the very air. Shadows converged around the edges of the platform, swirling into forms that were neither human nor fully alien. They were watchers, yes, but transformed. Larger, faster, and more terrifying than anything he had faced in the station. Their glowing eyes burned like coals in the darkness, and their long, spindly limbs reached toward him, probing, searching. "Focus," the princess commanded. "They cannot touch you unless they know fear. Do not falter." He clenched his fists, drawing on every ounce of courage, every lesson from the hidden chamber, every moment of the chase through the station. His fear was real, but he forced it down, shaping it into determination. The watchers surged forward. He dodged, leapt, and twisted, guided instinctively by the princess's presence beside him. She moved with impossible grace, her every step precise, every action controlled. Her hand brushed his again, and a warmth surged through him, not comforting, but empowering. He felt connected to her strength, to her focus, to something greater than himself. One watcher lunged from above, and he barely rolled to the side as its clawed limb struck the platform, sending sparks flying. Another came from behind, and instinctively, he grabbed a floating shard of crystalline energy from the platform. It pulsed under his hand like a living weapon. With a thrust, it struck the watcher, and the being dissolved into shadow and smoke, disappearing into the void. The princess nodded once. "Good. You are learning." The platform began to tilt, spinning slowly, forcing him to hold his balance. The watchers adjusted, closing in from every angle. They were relentless, intelligent, and terrifyingly fast. But something had changed. He was no longer just reacting. He was thinking, anticipating, fighting with cunning, using the environment around him. A burst of light erupted from the station remnants behind them, and suddenly, reinforcements arrived, ships of alien rebels, their sleek forms glowing, weaving through the void, weapons firing beams of energy that struck the watchers. The princess gestured toward them. "The Alliance is here," she said. "We cannot do this alone." Together, they fought. He moved as if guided, striking watchers with shards of energy, dodging attacks, and leaping across floating platforms. The princess moved beside him, a blur of precision and power. The battle was fierce, chaotic, and unlike anything he had ever imagined, but he felt alive in a way he had never felt before. Then, the force behind the watchers revealed itself. A massive shadow, older and darker than the station, rose from the void, a presence that seemed to absorb light, bending space around it. Its form was indistinct, shifting, but its eyes, he could feel them piercing his mind. They searched him, measured him, weighed him. "You see it," the princess said softly, her voice calm but urgent. "The entity that moves behind the galaxy. The one that marks humans like you, rare, unpredictable. And now, it tests you." He swallowed hard. How do we fight that?" She looked at him, eyes blazing. "Not with strength alone, with courage, with choices, with cleverness. That is what makes humans dangerous. That is why you were chosen. And that is why you must act." He took a deep breath, focusing every thought, every instinct. He leapt toward the shadow, using the energy shards to strike at points that seemed to pulse with power. The entity recoiled slightly, then surged toward him, faster than anything imaginable. Fear clawed at his mind, but he forced it down, replacing it with focus, clarity, and determination. The princess moved beside him, her hand brushing his again. He felt a surge of power, a connection between them, a link that allowed him to see her intentions before she acted. Together, they struck at the shadow, weaving strategy and courage into every move. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the shadow began to falter. A final strike, a combined force of his energy shards and her power, pierced the heart of the entity. It howled, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the stars themselves, then dissipated, dissolving into nothingness. The watchers fell silent, their forms crumbling like mist in the void. He fell to his knees, gasping for breath. The princess stood beside him, radiant, calm, but tired. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced what no human has faced before, and you survived. You are more than I could have imagined." He shook his head, overwhelmed. We did it together. I couldn't have done it alone." She smiled faintly. "No. You could not. But know this, you have changed more than just your own fate. You have changed the course of the galaxy. And there are others who will remember this, who will watch for humans now, knowing what we are capable of." He looked out at the void, the stars stretching endlessly before him, and realized something profound. Humans were small, fragile, and limited, but also clever, bold, and unpredictable. They could survive, adapt, and even challenge forces older than the stars. The princess extended her hand. "Come," she said. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of dangers and wonders. And now, you are part of it. The Alliance will need you, and the Watchers will not forget. But together, we can face them." He took her hand, feeling the warmth, the connection, the sense of purpose. "Then let's face it," he said, determination firming in his chest. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Above them, stars shimmered like witnesses to their triumph. The station was far behind, broken and silent, but the galaxy stretched endlessly ahead, full of possibilities, dangers, and secrets. And for the first time in his life, he understood that courage, choice, and the human spirit could reach farther than anyone had ever imagined. The alien princess smiled faintly, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. "The galaxy will remember you," she said.